Good morning, and welcome to the original Loretta Brown Show radio to open the heart, heal the soul, awaken the consciousness. And it's really just my excuse to say hi to Benny. Hi, Benny. Hi,
That's
good
not
morning.
true. There's no excuses here. It was meant to be, I should say.
Meant to be, meant to be. Yeah, anyway, it's always great to see you. And
You too.
we are all still alive and well here in Seattle,
Yep.
right? Yeah, it's funny. I had visitors last week and they said, "Are you sleepless in Seattle?" I said, "No." I
I don't think there's ever such a thing, really.
No, I'm causing trouble in Seattle. That's what I'm doing.
Right.
That's what life is all about, right? Anyway, I'm the owner of Reiki Oasis, located right here in the greater Seattle area for the last 27 years. And we are still alive and well and going. You can find out all about that at reikioasis.com. You can schedule everything at schedule.reikioasis.com. And thanks to Indigo Hawk, my webmaster, and for all the good things that techie people do that I don't know how to do. I probably could learn, but it might take me a while, right? It's kind of how it is. Also, I do every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I have a meditation, Sunday meditation with Loretta, and you can sign up at schedule.reikioasis.com. If you cannot be there at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, sign up anyway, because I record the meditations and I'll just send it to you. And then you can listen to it over and over or whenever you want. And we do a variety of meditations. Sometimes we meditate with the angels, or sometimes we meditate on how to feel better. We do energy work, all kinds of things. So it's a variety of things, and it's just really an offering to people to try to help us make it through and balance our lives. It also helps me balance my life, because we're going to talk more about that. What is it like to be, a healthcare worker, and what's it like to be a patient? And oh boy, where do when are we one and when are we the other? And maybe the lines get blurred. So, yeah. Anyway, so hang in there. Right, lots of stuff coming. Little astrology check-in, and then I really want to get my guest on because he's so timely, so timely. So as I mentioned last week, September is a month setting the stage for the things to come for the rest of this very challenging year that has been overseen by Saturn, the planet of structure and karma, and Uranus, the planet of freedom, sudden changes and doing it differently. So our main theme this year, and I've mentioned this several times, but I need to mention it again because we're going into the intensity of it from now until the end of the year. We have the old ways of doing things jamming up against the new ways of doing things. And as everybody knows, we can get stuck in old ways of doing things, but this energy is not going to let us stay there. It's saying you've got to change something. You've got to do it different now. And I'm going to keep coming at you until you finally surrender to that, and also step into your own greatness and be who you're truly meant to be on planet Earth, because that's really what we want. On September 7th, which was a couple of days ago, Mercury entered shadow and began to slow down. It's not in retrograde, it's in shadow, means it's starting to slow down. And it goes into retrograde on September 26th and will stay retrograde until October 18th in the air sign of Libra. And Mercury is about communication. So air signs are also about communication and thoughts. So Mercury is often associated with the throat chakra and communication, and just how well are we communicating? Are we are we holding back until we just blow? Right? I see that, Betty. I see that.
Possibility, maybe.
Possibility, right? Are we just what are we doing? So this is going to be a chance for us to really take a look at that. We are responsible for what comes out of our mouth. I hate to tell you this. Oops, right? And it's a chance. Thanks for laughing, Lee. Yeah, it's a chance to revisit similar themes from June of this year, which may come back into our lives on a personal and a global level. And oh, yeah, it's here. And today, September 9th, 9/9, a ninth month, the ninth day, which unblocks the numerology code of 99. Nines are numbers of completion, endings, graduations. You've done this section, now it's time for the next thing. And you will need to take what you've learned during this time. I hope you learned something and take it with you into the next section. But I also look at it like, okay, like I'm going on a trip. How much luggage do I really need? I am that girl. Sorry. And so I always have to throw out half of the stuff in my luggage to keep it down to the weight restrictions. And then when I get there, I only wear 3 outfits anyway. I don't know what that's all about. So as we are going through this month, I want you to ask yourself, what are you graduating from or to in your life? 99 can also be linked with leadership energy as well. And its vibration allows us to use the wisdom we have gained. Like I said, I hope you gained something and not a bunch of weight, to step up and take leadership of our lives in a new way. Focus on those areas and also realize that will be the leadership of our country and our world that's also being affected by all of this. Friday, September 10th, Venus moves out of the air sign of Libra into the water sign of Scorpio. This is always intense. Venus in Scorpio can help us connect with our more sensual side, allowing us to tune into our desires with greater ease. And Venus in Scorpio is a very sensitive placement. So we might be feeling extra intuitive or aware of our deepest emotions. Try to remain stable during this time. Anchor yourself down in. Don't fall off to the side. And on Saturday is September 11th. 911 is the 20-year anniversary of a major event on our planet. And I recommend that you just take a moment and honor that day. I know there's people out there that have things going on, but all you got to do is light a little candle, and you can do that every day and light your little candle and send your intention out into the world for peace. I am a person who has a deep desire for peace and love and to help ease the pain and suffering of the planet. So Saturday, we do have 911 numerology, the 9th month, the 11th day gives us that numerology code of 911, which is known to be the calling of the light worker. Whoa. That 9, that energy of endings, the 11 is the messenger. It's a call. Maybe it's a call for help. Maybe it's an SOS. Maybe it's a call to action. Maybe it is a call to love. But if you are seeing this number code regularly, it could indicate you're being called into your gifts as a healer and a light worker, and maybe a compassionate caregiver. Who knows? On this day, we can all connect with this energy by acknowledging our own unique healing gifts and the light that each one of us can bring to this world, which our tired world needs it so deeply. And that's a great way to bring in my guest. My guest today is, I'm looking forward to this conversation. well, maybe I'll answer that question at the end, but I think right now I'm looking forward to it. My guest today is the award-winning television producer, movie studio executive and owner, former professional athlete, speaker, TED Talk presenter, Patient Lee Tomlinson. And he's alive today due to the combination of a lifetime of extraordinarily effective medical treatment and deeply kind, compassionate care. Unfortunately, during a recent battle with stage 3+ throat cancer, Patient Lee became painfully aware of the trauma caused by treatment lacking in compassion that drove him to the darkest of depths. What saved him from suicide was a tiny, simple, yet powerful act of compassion delivered by a loving doctor and a friend. Lee has told his story on more than 200 stages around the world, wearing nothing but a hospital gown, which I see you're wearing today. And Patient Lee is making a global difference in restoring compassion to healthcare and to mankind. Lee Tomlinson, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here today.
Well, Loretta, thank you very much for having me. Given that introduction in my medical history, it's great to be anywhere, but particularly here, and particularly that you're in Seattle, one of my favorite cities on the face of the planet.
Thank
So,
you.
oh,
Yeah.
that's my book.
Yeah, this is the cover of your book for those people on YouTube and for the listeners. The book Lee has a book out. It's called Compassion Heals: From Self-Care to Healthcare. Compassion makes the unbearable bearable. I love this cover, by the way. Who did this artwork?
I have an artist friend in Utah, actually, who did it. And, it was such an interesting evolution to figure out how in the world do we convey compassion. And she did it beautifully. It is a chasm, and it is what joins us genetically, every human being. So getting across that chasm, that's the challenge, and connecting with other human beings. It's our most human need is connection.
Yeah, in a moment, I want you to share a bit of your story so people know who you are. But this
Sure.
past year and a half, going on to 2 years, right, with all the isolation has really affected people. And I was telling Lee before the show, what a timely day for him to come, because I've been having conversations with my people in the healthcare field talking about burnout and how tough this year has been on them, let alone how tough it has been on the patients and all of us. So we'll probably, discuss that a bit in the show. But Lee, can you tell us a bit of your history and who you are for those people that don't know, and how you came to write this book?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think your introduction gave a great history. I've been a professional athlete. I helped open China to trade with the Western world after ping pong diplomacy. I raised tens of millions of dollars for a major not for profit in the entertainment industry, award winning producer, studio owner, developer, blah, 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 blah. But what changed my life dramatically was on June 23rd, 2012. I went to my ENT for a routine allergy test. I had qualified for the California State Senior Amateur Golf Championships up in Pebble Beach, which, if you're a golf addict, like I ashamedly admit, getting to the state championships is a big deal, but my allergies were acting up and I couldn't breathe and I couldn't see and I couldn't hear and I knew I wouldn't play well. So I went in, despite the fact that I hate going to my doctors just because it's always painful. I went to get and figure out what I could do to play well. I walked out 3 hours later with a diagnosis of stage 3, stage 4 throat cancer. Now, I was the healthiest guy that ever walked into her office. I was a marathon runner, a mountain climber, semi daredevil. I never drank. Which everybody always, do you ever drink and smoke? No, I never smoked, except a little bit in San Francisco in the 60s and 70s, but I never inhaled, so that doesn't count.
Nice. Nice.
But right, but here I am in her office, healthy, and all of us. She does a little. She's Lee, you're allergic. You're not going to believe this. You're allergic to grass. What? Grass. Now, for a golfer, that's a curse. Clearly, my wife thought it was divine intervention and that God was punishing me for all those days I spent playing golf and not being with her. But so, and then she said, can I do one more test? And that's when she discovered this massive tumor at the base of my tongue. Now, I've been hospitalized in 6 different countries. I've had broken more than a dozen bones. I've had a thumb pulled off. I've had toes amputated. I've had skin grafts, bone grafts, diseases. You get the picture. I've been hospitalized all over the world. And I'm used to it. I mean, and I think I'm a pretty tough guy, but boy, cancer kicked my butt. It humiliated me. It made me weep. It literally knocked me onto my knees, let me get up, knocked me down again, spit on me. It was humiliating. And at the very end of it, after 3 months of chemo and 35 straight days of atomic blasts to the base of my tongue, I'd lost 60 pounds, lost my ability to swallow, could barely speak. It was too excruciating. And then when things couldn't get any worse, I was admitted to the hospital with an unidentifiable septic infection at the site of my port. Great. Now I'm dying of cancer. Now I'm dying of an infection they can't even identify. My business was a wreck because I couldn't work, obviously. I didn't know if I'd ever speak again. I didn't know if I'd live. And now I'm in a hospital from hell. If there ever was a time when I could have used a little bit of simple human kindness, it was there. Now, I was treated competently. I mean, I'm still alive, but the care that I got, the non-physical side, was as cruel and as inhumane as it could humanly possibly be. And I won't go into all the examples because there's just too many. And we've only got an hour, but it was horrible. And what I discovered is I took for granted the fact that my medical providers would be both competent, smart, well-trained, and compassionate. That was just my experience all over my life. So when these people in whose hands I had put my life decided I wasn't worth simple human courtesy and kindness and compassion, they're gods and goddesses. I assumed they were right, and I didn't. And I decided that the world would be a much better place without me. And I had enough fentanyl patches to put on, go to sleep, not wake up, and leave my family with the proceeds from a major key man life insurance policy at the studio, which would have left them living like kings and queens for the rest of their lives. And that's what I would have done if it hadn't been for an extraordinary, very short conversation that I had with a doctor pal who came to visit the day after I got out of the hospital and did an amazing thing. First of all, he let me simply croak out as slowly as I could speak the story of how horrible it had been. And he didn't say a word. Then when I finally took a breath, he put his hand on my arm, lowered his head, and apologized to me for the lack of compassion I hadn't gotten in this hospital. Now, he had nothing to do with it, but he apologized to me for the lack of care I had gotten. Yeah. And then he asked my permission. Could I make a suggestion? Sure, Dean. He said, if you do yourself in, he said, you'll just be a statistic. And the fact is that compassion is disappearing from healthcare at a rapid rate. Only 50% of the people in America today say they experience any compassion whatsoever while being treated. And he said, so how about this? Instead of giving up and giving in, how about you fighting if you live? Why don't you do something to see if you can't reverse that trend? And that's when I knew that my life had purpose, that if this man, this gigantic and famous doctor, thought I could make a difference in healthcare in the world by bringing compassion back to it, I'm in. And that's what gave me the power. So literally that conversation, that tiny compassionate conversation, literally and figuratively saved my life. And that's how I'm here today. That's how the Compassion Heals movement was formed. That's how those 200 keynotes around the world that I've had the privilege to deliver to every imaginable type of healthcare professional and others. The book was written, Compassion Heals, From Self-Care to Healthcare. And the documentary with a similar name we're working on, the feature-length documentary we're working on as well, to spread the simple message: compassion heals. It's a choice, and it enriches your life as the giver. It enriches the life and helps heal the receiver. And if it happens in a business situation, it enhances the bottom line. How good is that? So that's kind of how I got to where I am today. I wear this stupid gown, which I hate, on all of those 200 stages. And I do it simply to remind my audiences that as patients, we are literally as vulnerable as we will ever be, and deeply humiliated because our butts are hanging out in the back. So it helps humanize me when I start to speak to my audiences, as much as I hate it. I got to tell you, it's interesting, is in the 201st, I was as embarrassed as I was in number one. I even hate it in my own home. I hate wearing this thing. It's like, it's embarrassing. But that's the point. That's the point.
Oh my gosh. You said so many wonderful things, but I'm just giggling like crazy because yes, I have been a patient and I'm sure many listeners have been. And to me,
Most of us have
the
been.
worst thing is when they say, "Here, just remove your clothing and put this on." And you're like, "What?" Like, could it be more vulnerable, more unattractive, more I don't know.
Nope.
No.
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 We're already, in an inferior position, with these. Oh, and by the way, my life is in your hands. I don't care if I go in for an allergy test. You give me the wrong whatever, I can die. So I literally, even though you're not my best friend, I have to trust you implicitly to give you as much information as I can so you can make the diagnosis and hopefully have been trained enough and not be burned out,
Yes.
which is a major, if not the major cause of a lack of compassion. I love my
Yeah.
doctors and nurses. I'm alive because of them. And the last thing I'm trying to do is criticize them. But
Right.
what's true is, given their personality types, they are deeply caring, sensitive people who got into healthcare with one objective, and that is to relieve the pain of others. They deeply feel, empathize with others in pain, and they want to do whatever they can until every human in the world is lacking in pain and they've solved every problem. They work, 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 and in a system that doesn't honor their health as much as their patients. And when that happens, when they're burned out, they lose their ability. They become emotionally insensitive. They become numb and are incapable of providing the compassion that is essential now, we know scientifically,
Yeah.
to the best, quickest outcomes. So my primary goal is to remind healthcare workers, I love you guys. My life's in your hand. I need you to be healthy so you can give your best to me and your other patients.
Yeah. That is so well said. I have heard, from my clientele, because I say everybody, complaints from both sides, from healthcare workers and from people who have come in contact with the healthcare system, whether they're in the hospital or going to the doctor's office or whatever, where the complaint is from both sides. Loretta, I only have like a maximum of 20 minutes to spend with that person, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 1 minute, right? And it just depends on their patient load or the person coming in, like you say, our expectation is that this person knows what they're doing, right? And they're good at what they're doing. And my life is in their hands because I don't know what they know. And so when we are treated in a less than, or we're dehumanized, is what I say,
Yes.
it's like all of a sudden I'm a big toe or a liver or something instead of a person. It's like
Yes.
I'm a person over here, and then we sometimes forget that that's also a person over there, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it's so interesting you say that. I was once, I happened to hear there was my attending physician when I was in that hospital had a bunch of interns with him. And I could hear him saying, okay, now we're going to go in, we're going to see an aging white male with advanced cancer and an unidentifiable septic infection at the site. Not Lee Tomlinson's studio executive, fabulous golfer in his own mind, father, leader, whatever. I was the aging white male. I mean, I felt like a pile of you know what. And that was just the start. But it's interesting. Every physician, every nurse, everybody, I don't care, if they come in contact with patients, they have an impact. And everybody says, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. This compassion stuff is great if you've got hours and days. Let me just tell you a quick story. In one of my keynotes, From Burnout Back to Brilliance, what my cancer taught me about your joy at work, we have a film, and it's an actual head cam or helmet cam of a firefight in Fallujah with our troops that were pinned down and being decimated. There were guys already dead and wounded. And all of a sudden, a soldier gets shot in the throat. A medic jumps up, despite being completely surrounded and being decimated, runs over, grabs that guy, throws him over his shoulder in hot sand, runs into the evac helicopter, sets him down. But before he lets them take off with him, he gives him a kiss on the forehead. Now, I promise you that soldier who was conscious when that happened will remember that kiss for the rest of his life. He won't remember the surgeries and the reconstruction and the shots and the stitches. No. But he'll remember that little kiss. Now, how long that kiss take, which said, "Bud, I love you. I'm here for you." A nanosecond. It doesn't take long to be compassionate. It takes conscious intention. And again, with 60% of healthcare professionals being burned out and much higher numbers now,
Yes.
your chances of getting compassionate care are decreasing by the day. And that's why I'm alive, is to remind healthcare professionals, you got to take care of you first. Put you first. You're worth it. Put your needs first. Be as healthy as you can be. Then put us first. And we both win.
That is so well said. Excellent. So much to talk about with that. So we're going to take a little station break. This is Loretta Brown. My guest today is Patient Lee, also known as Lee Tomlinson, the amazing. I'm just going to say that because I like to do that sort of thing. And he's got a wonderful.
I like amazing. I like it.
I like amazing. The amazing.
Works for me.
Lee Tomlinson, in his hospital gown, and I love that. Your beautiful book, Compassion Heals: From Self-Care to Healthcare, and you're wearing your gown on the cover of that. And I love the fact you're doing a documentary on this, and you just brought out so many good points. So please don't go away. We're going to take a little station break and come back. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about compassion and everything that goes along with that. So we'll take a little break.
All right. All clear, you two?
Thank you. We're still live on YouTube, Lee. I love this.
Good. I'm glad I didn't eat a sandwich then. I was going to have my breakfast in that break for 30 seconds. No, I'm kidding.
You know, I'm thinking about the hospital gown and how mortifying it is. And I do clearly remember I had a little surgery and I was in the recovery and
there is no such thing as a little surgery. Let's be clear. I've had dozens.
I got cut open and put back together.
Thank you. Let's be clear.
It still hurts when I think about it. It's like, I still feel it.
No kidding.
I was actually at the point where I was trying to, get up and ambulate, as they say, to the bathroom. And I'm trying to walk across the room and I'm kind of unsteady. And the next thing I know is the nurse came and she pulled the back of my gown together. And I'm looking at her and she's like, "Oh, I'm just trying to, give you a little bit more modesty." And I'm thinking,
that's compassion.
That
compassion. Is the very definition of compassion. She is so clearly present that she knows the humiliation that goes along with it. She knows you're feeling it, even if you're not aware of it.
Yes.
And she's willing to do whatever it takes to relieve that pain for you. That's the purest form of compassion.
Yeah, it was really great. I was like,
and it took what? 3 seconds.
3 seconds. Yeah, just that was it. Yeah.
Yep.
And I told her how much I appreciated that. And then, like I said, then I've had images of my ass hanging out the back of my.
Well, I've got 200 images like that. And that's just from speaking, and then hundreds more when I was in the hospital. So enough about that. Let's get to the bottom of the problem here.
I also love the fact you have a great sense of humor, and
life is short.
Gotta
have some fun.
Yeah, and also because this is really serious conversation. It's intense.
Yes.
Ready to come back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready. Thank you. Thank you, Benny, for all you do. And welcome back to the original Loretta Brown Show with my guest, Lee Tomlinson, also known as Patient Lee. Patient Lee. I have to think about that, Lee.
And it should be impatient patiently, actually, if truth be known. I am driven.
Well, I think being a patient really tests our patience, right? You know, like not trying to overplay on those words, but it
No,
definitely
it's true.
can wait a long time to get any kind of attention and you can be pretty miserable. So I want to ask you this question because it's, you know, because you kind of alluded to it during the break. So when you're doing these talks in your hospital gown, Lee, is that the only thing you're wearing or is that a secret?
Well, if you, I'll tell you, if you go to my website, which is leetomlinson.com, which is very clever, right? Lee Tomlinson, TOMLINSON.com. We've got a bunch of videos of a number of my keynote addresses. Go look at one and find out for yourself. By the end of it, you will know clearly what it is I was wearing underneath it. So I'm not going to tell you. You got to go watch one of the
Thank you.
videos. Yeah, but you
Thank
will
you,
you
because I
will know
didn't want to
without a
give it
doubt.
away. Like,
Nope, not telling. You got to. And in fact,
good.
that's one of the first
Yeah.
questions I ask everybody. It's because I walked out this, and it's like, and it's funny because after I did a TED Talk in my gown, I realized that people that's the first thing they wanted to know. So it's like, okay, if you think I'm wearing boxers under this, raise your hand. Okay, and some people, if you think I'm wearing briefs, raise your hand. Okay. If you think maybe, just maybe, I'm going commando and I've got nothing under here, and the whole room raises their hands. It's like, okay, good. Those of you who raise your hands thinking that, let's go tonight after the conference. Let's go party. We're going to have some fun. So anyway, that's my secret, but you can find out if you watch one of my keynote addresses.
Good. And I recommend them to people. They are very well done. And like I said
Thank
before,
you.
I'm really glad you're putting out a documentary. I really think this needs to come out. I want
I do
to,
too. I do too, because we need to reach more than just healthcare workers. I mean, my goal is to reach all 22 million healthcare workers because that's where my realization of the scientifically proved healing properties of compassion is because of that last experience that I've learned all of that. But there's also a world that is desperate for connection, and we are genetically bred as human beings. We have compassion embedded in our genes. If a baby is born and isn't given physical contact,
yes.
they will literally shrivel and die. And so will we as kids, adolescents, and adults. And the fact that we've been so physically separated for the last 18 months and ongoing makes us crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I use that term literally,
Yes.
makes us, so all of the discord and disagreement and violence and anger and hate that's coming out now, a significant portion of that has been caused by our lack of compassionate connection.
Yes.
So I'm open to any other ideas, but when you take a look at the enormous health benefits, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, not to mention financially if it's a business, that come from the expression of and the reception of compassion, it's the most powerful, cheapest healing agent on the face of the planet. And it's so powerful on a mental, physical, and emotional basis that the World Health Organization has said that being treated in a compassionate environment must be integral to provide the best, quickest outcomes for patients. So the problem is only 50% of us ever get any. So we need to remind healthcare professionals to love themselves enough to stay healthy enough to be able to be the compassionate self that they were when they got into medicine and have, through the system and the work and all that, lost over time.
Wow, I'm thinking of so many things. So I'm a Reiki practitioner as well as I do all kinds of vibrational frequency
Yes,
work and things
yes,
like that.
yes.
And I'm also a mental health counselor for the state of Washington. So I've been doing a lot
Oh,
this past year. Yeah.
wow.
But years ago, I did Reiki in the hospital, and they called me a compassionate care worker. And the thing that I discovered, and of course many other people practice Reiki and compassionate things like that, um, but often just the being with the person, being directly with them, looking at them, talking to them, doing my energy work, whether above the body or on the body, would be almost too much for them and they would cry. And this is vitally important for us to recognize each other as humans, as people that are here. And like you said, those studies on touch, the young and the elderly, if they're not touched, they cease to thrive. And
Yep,
I'm here to tell you, we've all been ceasing to thrive. Like I have people that say, Loretta, I just can't wait to see you. I need a hug, right?
yes,
I just need a
yes,
hug.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I mean, I can remember when I was maybe 10, I'd had my thumb pulled off and I was having, a bunch of surgeries to try and make me one because Dr. Ashley kept saying, we got to make you a thumb. If you don't have a thumb, you're not, you know, you're just an ape. You haven't got to have a thumb. I got to make you a new one. Anyway, so after about 10 operations, he comes into my room the night before a surgery. My parents had already left. And he just says, okay, well, it's great to see you. How you doing? Everything cool? Yeah, yeah, yeah. He goes, okay, well, tomorrow when we remove your toe, we'll take off the skin, take off the nail. Wait, what? I've already lost a thumb. I got scars all over me from the. I already can't play. Now you're going to cut off my toe, and I won't be able to walk or run. And I start to cry. I mean, in front of this family, I'm starting to cry because, like, wait, I'm going to have no thumb. I'm going to have no toes. I'm going to. And he stops and puts his hand on my arm to connect with me
Yes.
and says very quietly, Lee, I promise you, I'm so sorry that I didn't tell you and your parents didn't. I didn't know that because a lot of times I just didn't want to know what the next procedure was. Like, just do it. So he said, I apologize. Let me tell you, I guarantee that given a little time, you'll be able to run as much as you ever did. So don't worry about it. And I'm so sure of it, I would give you my toe if I thought your body would accept it, but it won't. So we have to use yours. But I guarantee that was 60 years ago. I will remember that kindness and that touch of his hand on my arm. It literally stopped my fear. It stopped my crying. And I knew that the man would do anything to make me healthy and reassured me. So the power of human touch is not imaginary. There are immense amount of studies that is one way to connect with and express your compassion and caring for another is by human touch.
Yes.
So it's powerful stuff. It is
Yeah.
not woo woo. It is real.
Yeah, it is
No
very real,
question.
very real. I'm also thinking of an incident because I want to bring this into kind of the living level of life for people too.
Hmm.
Years ago, I went to my 20-year high school reunion, and I can
No,
remember,
you're not
yeah,
that old.
that was
Nah.
just last year, right?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I remember like I wasn't all that excited about going, and then at the last minute I thought, oh, I'll just go ahead and go. And when I was there, this woman comes up to me and she took me by the hand and looked me straight in the eye and she said, I came here hoping you'd be here. And I was like, I'm looking at her and honestly did not remember
Had
who
no
she was.
clue.
I
Yeah,
had no
right.
clue, right? No clue. And I moved a lot as a child and only went to that high school for 2 years, right? And she said, you saved my life. And I go, I did. Like, what
Wow.
did I do? And she said, you have no idea. I had a locker next to yours, and I was having a very hard time at home, and I thought I wanted to kill myself. And she
Oh,
goes, I came to school, and you would always say, hello, how are you? I hope you have a nice day. And you would smile at me and look me straight in the eye. And she goes, you changed my life. And she goes, when I was wanting to kill myself, she goes, your face came in front of me with that smile. And I went, oh my gosh. Yeah. So we never know that moment, like you said, that kiss, that smile, that act of kindness, that moment of compassion. We never know. Yeah.
Well, the exact same experience that I had with that doctor pal who came to visit me after my stay in the hospital from hell. There's a story that I read to that point, which was about a fellow who wrote a suicide note. And he said, I'm going to walk to the bridge and jump unless I make eye contact with one human being. They found his body the next day. That means he walked, whether it was 10 feet or 1,000 or whatever, he came in contact with humans, none of whom even noticed his existence. All it would have taken is exactly what you gave to that woman, which is a look, a nod, which says, I see you. You are valuable. Good to see you and be in the human race with you. That's all it takes. It's a second. And just that is huge. At least it connects us.
Yeah.
At least you see me. I exist. I, in that hospital, felt like I had vanished and like they wanted me to vanish. So compassion is very simple. People think, well, it's too, wishy-washy. It's too cute. It's too cutesy. It's too, no, it's not. It has hundreds and hundreds. There's a book called Compassionomics, which summarizes hundreds and hundreds of studies about compassion to find out whether it actually has significant measurable medical, mental, physical, and emotional and spiritual benefits. The guys who wrote it are brilliant. Two doctors, research, went into it thinking it didn't. That was a nice thing. If you could be nice to your patients, it'd be cool. But it didn't matter much in terms of the outcome. They came out of it 180 degrees in the opposite direction, saying, not only is it absolutely integral and a must for the best, quickest outcomes for patients, it also helps heal the provider. And so it's a win-win for everybody, unquestionably. And it only takes a moment. You don't have to buy people a new car. You don't have to put their kids through college. You don't have to pay their mortgage. I mean, that stuff's nice. I mean, I hope somebody will do it for me one day. But you don't need to go to that trouble. It can be a simple nod of the, I see, even with a mask on,
Yes.
without a smile. They can't even
Yes.
see it.
Yes.
People can see smiles in your eyes. If you smile at someone and they can't see the smile, they'll feel it. And that's all it takes. I'm alive. I'm important enough to take a moment of their time to have them give it to me. That's what compassion is. And every one of them has that same healing quality on the recipient and the giver.
Yes.
The old saying, you want to be happy? You want to make somebody happy? Be kind. You want to be happy? Be kind. And now that is scientifically proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. Both of those are true.
I love that so much, especially what you said about the masks, because, oh goodness, last year somewhere along the line, we're doing this, and everybody's talking about we're covering up, most of our face, and then some people are wearing sunglasses in this, right? And so I purposely began to look at people, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and look at them until they look at me, right? Because people can feel that, and then I would smile at them or nod at them, and it changes things.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because we're desperate for it. It's medicine. I mean, for lack of a better word, it's healing medicine. It releases it. For patients, well, for humans, look, everybody's got pain. Everybody, whether you're in a hospital or not. And compassion lowers your mental, physical, and emotional pain. It strengthens your immune system. It increases your will to live, as it did with your friend or the woman in high school.
Yes.
It lowers your need for addictive pain relievers. It I say it strengthens your immune system. It does all of those, and it releases oxytocin, so you actually feel better regardless of your circumstances. That's powerful stuff for a glance and a smile, or a touch, or an open of a door, or a help with a package, or those kind acts always relieve some pain for the person who receives it, and it makes you feel better too. And not only that, think about this. You want to make the world a better place? For every kind act you do, in the book, Compassionomics, it says it as well. And I have no relationship. I'm not trying to sell them, but it's a great book. I wish they'd come out with it sooner. I wouldn't have had to read all those studies myself, but to learn them. But the simple fact is that those benefits are so measurable, they can literally be the difference medically between life and death. That's how powerful it is. And you have that power to do as well. So it's not the size of the gift, it's how many of them you give and get at the same time. And then once that happens, the person has been scientifically proven, when they get a kind act, there's a high probability they will give a kind act to someone else soon thereafter, who then will give a kind act to someone soon thereafter. So it has this ripple effect.
Yeah.
So when people think, oh, the world sucks and I'm not in government, I don't have billions of dollars, I can't do anything. Well, we can either sit around and complain about things, or we can do something. Well, what can you do? Be kind. Be kind. Be kind. Sounds simple, but if it was easy, we would all be, because that's our natural selves. When we were cavemen and women, and Tyrannosaurus considered us lunch, the only way we survived, you could be the strongest, survival of the strongest. No, it was survival of the nicest, who could go to their other cave people and say, I noticed you had one of your people, family members, eaten last night. So did I. How about this? When you go to sleep tonight, I'll watch over you. And how about if when I go to sleep, you do the same? And we formed communities that were harder for Tyrannosauruses to break into. That's how we survived and thrived. And if there ever was a time when the world needs that power of positivity and kindness, medically proven to benefit mental, physical, and emotional well-being of the giver and receiver, it's now.
Yes.
It's now. No doubts about it. If you got a better answer, tell me, I'm in, because the world needs it. This is how I can make a difference, by committing to not just sit around pissing and moaning, but to do intentional kind acts. And in fact, if you don't mind me mentioning this,
No.
if you go to my website, if you want to get a free copy of the book, go to my website, which is leetomlinson.com. I've said that 9 times, don't mean to repeat it. Go there and take what we call the Compassion Heals Challenge. See, all this talk is just talk unless we do something to put it into action. So the challenge is this. You commit by signing up, and you need to sign up. We're not going to sell you information. We're not going to sell you anything. Just sign up and agree that for 1 week, you will do one intentional, on-purpose kind act a day for 7 straight days. It can be give $1 to a homeless person, help somebody with a door, serve food at a soup kit. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, 1 a day, 7 days. At the end of it, when you complete it, we'll give you a free digital copy of my book. So if you want to save some money and not go to Amazon to buy it, just take the challenge. Do the world some good. Put some of your goodness into the world that needs the healing, and get a free copy of the book at the same time. I mean, how's that for a good deal, right?
I
So
love this so much.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
listen, I want the world to
Yeah.
be better. I got to live in it, and so do you. So let's get together,
Yes.
figure out how we can survive these tyrannosauruses that are now starting to eat us, and survive like we did 25 million years ago when
I
I was
love.
in grammar school 25 million years ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was right there with you, I think. Anyway,
No,
so
I don't think so.
the
Yeah.
compassion heals challenge.
Yes.
I highly recommend people do it. I'm thinking while you're talking, and like I said, a Reiki practitioner for almost 30 years, and
Wow.
one of the we have a practice in Reiki where we do a little meditation. We say the five Reiki principles every day and meditate on them with intention. And the fifth one is just for today. I will be kind
Yes.
to every living creature, beginning with myself.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. You
Yeah.
can't do it. And look, if you're look, when you see these shootings, nobody who is on purpose, generally happy, leading a fulfilling life, they never go to malls and start shooting people.
No.
Only people who are so disconnected and feel invisible and are in excruciating pain do that. Everybody has pain. It's just a matter of how much. All of us could use the healing power of compassion. I don't care how good your life is. When someone demonstrates the fact that you're important enough to be kind to, it makes you feel better, even more so.
Yeah.
So why not? We can all be physicians and we can all help heal the world. Simply, human kindness is the answer.
It is. Can you speak just a little bit about burnout? Burnout.
Yeah,
People, yeah, and how to
yeah,
some ideas regarding that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, so that's again one of my talks is Burnout Back to Brilliance, one of my keynotes. So what I discovered was that I'd had an absolute mess for the 5 years before I went to my ENT to get my allergy medicine. And I'd had some criminal partners, a lawsuit with them to get them out of the business. Then I had a lawsuit with Lehman Brothers for a whole nother reason. Then they went bankrupt. Then the crash. I mean, my life was a mess. And I was running around 20 hours a day trying to figure out how to put all the pieces back together and not taking care of myself. So when I started looking at compassion and what prevents it in healthcare, which is largely burnout of
Yes.
the people who practice it, and I read the description, I realized that was me. I was that insensitive, unkind, unconscious jerk just before I got cancer. So, is there any connection between burnout and cancer? And the answer, did it cause it? No. Did it contribute to it? Absolutely, because it lowers your immune system.
Right.
When you're in that much pain and anger and all of that, it literally lowers your ability to fight the cancer cells that all of us have in our body. So it contributed to it. But realizing that I was burned out, I now talk about how to recover from it and return from burnout to joy in that talk. And what I found is that number one, you have to be willing to admit you're burned out.
Yes.
And most people who are burned out are ashamed that I'm strong. I've done 8 years of medical school or nursing school. I've done millions of patients. I can handle. No, you can't, guys. I was a professional athlete, marathon. I mean, healthiest guy you ever knew. When I got burned out, it nearly killed me. You don't want to go through that. So number one, be loving enough to yourself to admit that you are burned out. Number two, get help.
Yes.
Get help, get help, get help, get help. I understand you think you can do it on your own. I understand you think you weren't burned out to begin with. Now that you've admitted it to yourself, get help.
Yes.
It's hard enough with help to deal with the issues that got you to burn out, resolve them, and come back healthier. To do it on your own is borderline impossible. So that's number 2. And number 3 is, and there's more steps, I'm not going to go into all of them, but number 3 is get clear again as to what your purpose is in life. And once you decide, again, what that is, commit to it.
Yeah.
Fully and completely. And if your commitment, if you're in healthcare, is no longer to being in healthcare and healing people that way, love yourself enough to leave and do something else. And if it is, and you're healthy again, go back to your patients and be kind, caring, and compassionate for both of you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lee. We are down to the last little bit.
Darn.
I know it went by really fast.
Wow. This is
I
fast.
Yeah, it was. It was crazy fast. And so Lee has so much out there. His book, Lee Tomlinson, by the way, Patient Lee, Compassion Heals from Self-Care to Healthcare. And also your Compassion Heals Challenge.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And
LeeTomlinson.com. Take it and get a free book.
Yeah, do it. Do compassionate things every day for people. I think it will
7 days.
change
That's
the
all we're
world.
asking.
Yeah.
And you. And
Yes.
you.
Yes.
And
absolutely. You. All right. Thank you so much. And this is Loretta Brown. Have a great week. Light a candle on Saturday and do something compassionate. So much love. Bye now.